Hello and welcome to Cobalt Retro Tech. Hope you're having an amazing day. Now, this, technically not Retro Tech, but technically it is. There is no clear consensus on what qualifies as retro, but to me, retro means the device, particularly with electronics, is at least 10 years old. And this is very close to being retro. November this year should be about 10 years old, which is crazy because I remember when things like this were brand new. Anyways, I have this unit in front of me today because a friend of a friend is having issues with this unit, particularly with this disk drive allegedly not being able to read things. Now, if the disk drive is what's having problems with this unit and it's doing things in a way that I cannot repair, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to do much. However, I'm still going to go through with the video because it's going to be an interesting process. Last time I checked, I don't think there were a whole lot of videos on the original model of the Xbox One. In some ways, I have a soft spot for this, as this was the introduction into the next generation of the gaming. It came out not too long after the Wii U, but at the same time, this thing is the size of a small VCR, and I remember back in the day being very frustrated with how big this thing is. While I was setting this up, I heard some interesting noises, so this is going to be an adventure. If we plug the power back in, you'll hear exactly what I mean here. Give it a second. Yeah. The disk drive already sounds sad, and the main system fan here is already showing itself to have some issues. I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything about that fan, but like I said earlier, this is worth a look. So I've got this hooked up to a TV here. Like I said, this belongs to a friend of a friend. So if anything pops up like a gamer tag or anything like that, I'm going to have to censor that. So this thing definitely took a hot second to boot up. Notably, there was no boot up animation, which means it kind of tells me that the last time this thing was plugged in, it was in some kind of hybrid sleep state mode? I don't know. But let's go ahead and get a controller connected here. That icon does look like a Series X, so it's not that old. Just going to eject the drive. Oh, there is something in here. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare Legacy Edition. Interesting. That's an interesting failure. By the sound of this disk drive, it's not fully taking in the disk. At least not to the point where it can actually start reading the disk. So the thing that does suck, and also doesn't suck at the same time depending on how you look at it, this guy is held together with a metric crap ton of plastic tabs, kind of like some of the later Xbox 360s. Now, that's good in the fact that you don't need to undo like 20,000 screws to just take the thing apart to like swap the case or something like that. But it's also a pain in the ass in context to old plastics. I've mentioned it on the channel before, but in the context of some really old electronics at this point, stuff from the 80s and 90s, like the Nintendo Entertainment System, and particularly old PCs and Macintoshes, their plastics are incredibly fragile at this point. And they're just going to get more and more fragile as time goes on. That kind of concept is going to start applying to these kinds of consoles here in about even 10 years, 10, 20 years from now. It's hard to tell though, because old electronics like that are made out of different plastics, I believe. Normally, if I'd be working on plastic tabs like this, I wouldn't really use a screwdriver like that. I think I used a screwdriver on my 360 on one of my first few videos. I don't recommend doing that, nor do I recommend using a metal screwdriver tip on something like this, as this could really chew up the plastics. So we are going to start on this side of the console. I managed to get that off without breaking any of the tabs. If you're trying to do this on a model 10, 20, 30 years in the future, I can't guarantee you'll have the same amount of success. But as long as you are careful, you should be able to get this off without a whole lot of issues. Okay. So we come to the back here. And as I mentioned, it looks like this warranty seal is still intact. Now, I understand why companies do this kind of warranty seal, but also, as I understand the law, as long as the consumer isn't directly responsible for damaging this console, this cannot be enforced, which is exactly why we flip these labels off on this channel. It also needlessly gets in the way of repair people like me. These consoles aren't exactly being serviced anymore. This particular console was discontinued, I believe, shortly after the 1X and 1S consoles started coming out. And even if... oh no. That didn't sound good. Even if these were still in production, this particular unit is very likely not still under its warranty. I don't like that sound. Okay, it was off camera, but I managed to lift this off. Gotta be careful. Probably can't see that. But there is a yeah, you can see that right there. A ribbon cable that connects the front of the console to the buttons and everything. This is very similar, like I said, to the Xbox 360, and you don't want to break that, as that will break things. Okay. Let me see if I can take this out without breaking things. There we go. Looks like it's got a little tab system, so you pull them out slightly. There we go. So, now we've got the top of the Xbox off with this ribbon cable presumably intact. And yeah, we've got some dust going on here. With the age of the system, I am not surprised. I mean, even some very new consoles can get dusty pretty quickly depending on their environment. Okay, so this is the front of the console. There's some other stuff here that we got to keep in mind. We have the wireless card, which I assume also does the controllers, but also possibly Wi-Fi. And we've got the speaker here, which is very interesting that it uses essentially the same speaker as Game Boys and some cheaper PC speakers. Ooh, that's interesting. We got some black spray paint here. I wonder why they did that. So we should be able to disconnect the speaker from here. We're careful. There we go. And also, if we're careful, we should be able to take out, this wireless card. And the thing is about these kinds of connectors is they are really fragile. So you gotta be careful, kind of like with ribbon cables, just in slightly different ways. Okay. Both the connector and cable look like they're still intact. Alright, now we should be able to take this part off. Woo! That is dusty. Let's see, is this screwed down in any way? It does not look like it. So let's get this SATA cable off. Come on. There's power as well. Oh! There's the hard drive. Oh, shit! Oh! That's... Jeez. That's really dusty. Oh, man. This is gross. Alright, is there a lever I need to pinch, or do I just need to... there we go. Just yank it out. We should be able to just take this off. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe there's tabs involved. Just a little gentle pulling. We'll take it out. Alright. Being careful not to drop it. It does look like there's some unused traces on here, which is interesting. I wonder if anybody has been able to use that for modding like on the original Xbox. Aha! There we go, just need to pry upwards. Okay. So this is the bottom of the drive, obviously. Just see a belt drive here. Looks like that's still got some life in it. So the unfortunate thing here is I'm not sure what a working unit is supposed to look like. However, I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that this drive shouldn't be struggling quite like this to engage whatever this is. Alright, I'm just gonna go ahead and test this with a game that doesn't work. Okay. That smoothly went in. So what's the problem? I think I know what the problem is. I'm using this disc here, and you can see there's actually a roller here that is trying to actuate this gear assembly here, but it's spinning in place. It is like occasionally actuating the other gears, but not a whole lot. You can see the belt move because of the text that's on there. Because of the text that's on there, but if you can see here, it's not moving the gears a whole lot. But like I said, because I don't really have that much experience, I don't know whether or not that's normal behavior. Okay, yeah, unfortunately it looks like this disk drive is shot. I'm going to go ahead and order a new one. It looks like this piece here is supposed to spin with this gear, but it looks like it may have snapped. So I'm willing to bet that this is why this disk drive is not functioning correctly. Now we should be able to take this board out. Nice! Okay. Jeez. The Xbox taken apart so much, I can see how Microsoft was able to make a slim version of this Xbox. Ooh. I was wrong. This is friction fit, not screwed in. Okay. Okay, that seemed to have worked a lot better for me. I took this flathead screwdriver and I kind of jammed it on this mounting thing here. Seem to have got it most of the way up. That seems to be working for me. Can't necessarily guarantee this is the proper technique, though. I hope I'm not breaking this Xbox in the process. That would friggin' suck. Okay. But now I've got this, oh! Oh, I've cut myself. Hold on a second. Okay, yeah, sometimes, for some electronics, it can be a little hard to do stuff like take off the heatsink. But as you might be able to see here, it's definitely worth it to take off heat sinks, especially after the 5 to 10 year mark. You might be able to see here there's a lot of dust and debris around the heatsink. Not to mention that there's a lot of debris in the heatsink and under it. And oh yeah, that thermal paste is completely dry. Yeah, this console would have eventually suffocated itself in its own heat. surprisingly, there's not a whole lot of dust in this part of the Xbox. There is some stuff on the edges, of course, but considering the condition of the rest of the system, it's actually not that bad. I'm a little bit worried. There's a slight bend on this board, which should be okay. Most motherboards, especially modern ones, are fairly robust, but at the same time, that could be a sign or a cause of problems. I'm going to have to see if I can test this Xbox a little bit more thoroughly before I give it back. Alright, got this on rinsed down. It does look a little bit better. That's something. That to the side here. And we've got all of this to tackle now. So we can see here, zoom out a little bit. We can see here it's actually not in too bad of condition. There's just a lot of dust, as per usual with the system. Alright, I'm not going to put this fully back together yet, but I believe I've got enough going on here to test to see whether or not the system will still work. So to test the drive, I know this isn't going to read, but I'm going to use my busted copy of Master Chief Collection. Okay, the sound we're having isn't my fault. there's nothing coming out of that disk drive at all. It took the disk, but it's reading. It sounds atrocious, but it's reading. I don't know why I just signed. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, now that I'm reading this error message, the Xbox One itself is detecting a problem with the disk drive. But so far, this process has taken me a lot longer than I was initially anticipating. Not because I'm not able to put this thing back together. No, far from it. It's the stupid disk drives. So we saw at the beginning when I was beginning to take this thing apart that the disk drive was originally not functioning properly. Remnants of this disk drive notwithstanding. Me taking apart isn't what broke this disk drive. There was something wrong internally and that broke things. Disk drive number 2 had a fairly similar problem, it sounded like. And kind of, it had similar symptoms, but wasn't exactly like the last one. So, disk drive number 3 hopefully will actually work, because the disk drive was packaged very well getting to me. So, if anything, this is probably the one that's going to work, but I'm not going to hold my breath. So, between the original disk drive, the disk drive that I tried on the last clips, and this one, I should be able to have a functional unit, provided nothing else breaks. I was just touching this, and apparently I managed to turn the Xbox on. CPU fan isn't doing anything. Now it should be able to boot up normally once I get everything enough back together. Yeah, this thing isn't booting up with that replacement fan. So it's either the fan or something to do with the actual heatsink. Alright, in this point in the project, I've gone through 2 additional disk drives that don't work, and I had a ventilation scare related to heat. So I'm getting really frustrated about this thing. So I'm hoping I'll be able to get this to work. So I went on Amazon this time instead of eBay for the last couple of drives and picked up another drive. In theory, this should work. However, there's one problem with this drive already, and I haven't even started using this on the Xbox. For some reason, a lot of the replacement drives on Amazon don't work with games, which is a really odd limitation. But apparently has something to do with Microsoft's proprietary firmware with reading games or whatever, which is a major pain in the ass, especially if you don't have a soldering iron. Thankfully, because I have a couple of these drives on hand now, I have spare boards. Okay. Really? Really? Are you kidding me? I don't remember when I started this project, but I have a feeling it's been about a month or so since I started, and this Xbox is starting to drive me crazy. So if this last drive doesn't work, I'm calling it quits. This is stupid. There was the original drive. There was the first drive I ordered, the second drive I ordered, both off of eBay. I went off of Amazon, and I have a replacement from the Amazon drive, so this is drive number 5 at this point. Why is it so hard to find a functional disk drive for an original Xbox One? Why? Just, guys, come on. It's not that hard. But 5 of these guys later proves otherwise. I already don't have good faith in this one because, as we've seen with the other drives, this guy is not supposed to be bent. Hey! That sounds like a healthy disk drive! Okay, I hope that fan is going to be enough. Doesn't feel like it's pushing a whole lot of air, but I could be wrong. Already it's a lot quieter than that one. Sounds like this disk drive is actually doing things, which is good. Yeah, this disk drive is a little bit loud. But if it's a loud disk drive versus a not working disk drive, a loud disk drive is arguably better. Alright, I managed to get this faceplate off by pushing up on these tabs and then pushing it out. This is going to make it a little bit easier for me to figure out how to get this ribbon cable back on here. I managed to do it once in the beginning of this project, but then never again. I guess this will make it easier for me to do a replacement if I end up breaking the ribbon or something. Okay, yes, okay. Whew, I did not, at least not fully kill this ribbon-based assembly. That's a really good sign. Ah! Okay, it's just a pressure button. Gotcha. Nice! Okay, managed to get an Xbox controller connected. Ah, man, I'm making so much progress. A little bit nervous about this one because I do like this movie, but I'm going to test this as a Blu-ray movie. Spaceballs. Okay, finally. 4 disk drives later, and I finally have a freaking functional disk drive. That took way too long. Okay. Off camera, I'm going to see how much more of this I can actually play, and I'm going to go from there. And the last step on our perilous Xbox journey is to transfer one of the motherboards of a donor drive to this functional drive so that it will read and play games. Step 1. Desolder this board. It sounds like a really complicated process, but it's really just these 2 solder joints holding in the entire board. If this was like a ribbon cable or some other kind of detachable thing, I wouldn't even need to solder. But Microsoft in their infinite wisdom did a thing. Alright, so we're just gonna go ahead and heat those up so those wires fall off. Bam, that was super easy. Not a great soldering job, but that should work. There we go. Hey! I fixed an Xbox! Yeah. And apparently that copy of MCC is working. Could have sworn it didn't, but okay. Okay, so this will be the last part of this video. I've already filmed the outro, so if you see this again, that's why. But looks like this system is all good and ready to go. I just need to put it more back together. That front faceplate was such a pain in the ass to reinstall that I ended up installing it off camera. And the way that I was trying to follow online, it was a really old guide from Tronics Fix. He had the faceplate and this top part here connected together, and he was showing that it's possible to like line up the tabs of the bottom of this faceplate here and tip the case in such a way that kind of looked like the hood on some American semi-trucks. And that just was not working. If I remember correctly, what ended up working is just separating the front faceplate and this top piece and lining them up like separately. Obviously, that ended up working, as I currently have the system mostly put together. I'll put this on last, but before that happens, I just want to make sure one last time that everything is indeed functional, because it would suck to have this system all the way back together and have it not actually work. I got Master Chief Collection in there right now. Disk drive, very clearly working, sounding healthy. Obviously, it's reading games. I'm going to go ahead and connect this to Wi-Fi real quick just to make sure that wireless is working. I can... Oh! It probably hasn't been turned on for a little while. It wants to update. We have a fully functional Xbox One. Cool. Oh boy, this project took me way too long. Way too long to put together. So, that being said, if you liked this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And if you want to support me a little bit more directly, I have some cool music linked in the description below. I have an eBay store, which may or may not have something up at the time of this video being up. And I do have a Patreon page that starts at $1 a month. Speaking of patrons, I do have to thank my Kilo supporter, Indian Mac, for helping make Cobalt Retro Tech possible. With all that being said, I'll see you in the next one.